Welcome to World Updates Hub. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The headlines screamed across every screen and newspaper in the country, sending a jolt through the morning routine of millions. Trump slams India with 50% tariff. The words echoed from newsrooms to living rooms as the president's announcement reverberated around the globe. For many, it felt surreal, like a plot twist in a political thriller, not the reality of their morning news. The shock was instant. Confusion and disbelief spreading as people tried to process what this meant for their lives and businesses. On August 28, 2025, a single declaration sent shockwaves from the halls of Washington, D.C. to the bustling streets of Mumbai. The world's largest democracy and its most powerful economy were suddenly at odds, and the consequences would be felt far beyond government offices. Imagine a textile factory owner in Tirupur, the heart of India's garment industry, sipping his morning chai. In an instant he sees his life's work, years of building relationships and perfecting his craft, threatened by a decision made thousands of miles away. His biggest US customer, who once placed massive orders for t-shirts, now faces a sudden 50% price hike. The numbers on his invoices no longer add up, and the future of his business hangs in the balance. In Surat, the diamond capital of the world, skilled polishers who had spent decades perfecting their art now faced the grim prospect of shutdowns. The sparkle of their trade was dimmed by the uncertainty of lost orders and shrinking profits. Panic spread like wildfire through WhatsApp groups and urgent industry meetings. Business owners, exporters, and workers scrambled to understand the new reality, sharing rumors and seeking answers in a sea of confusion. A 50% tariff meant that for every dollar of goods sold to the US, an extra 50 cents would now go straight to the government in taxes. Margins evaporated overnight, and the math that once made sense now spelled disaster. The move was clear: make Indian products more expensive for American shoppers. Suddenly, a simple t-shirt or a sparkling diamond from India became a luxury, priced out of reach for many. In Kanpur, India's leather hub, exporters fielded frantic calls from confused and worried US partners. Orders were put on hold, contracts renegotiated, and years of trust were tested in a matter of hours. For many, the tariff felt like a wrecking ball, smashing through years of hard work, threatening to destroy businesses and livelihoods built over generations. The future looked bleak. Uncertainty descended like a heavy fog on industries that relied on the US market, leaving workers and owners alike anxious about what tomorrow would bring. The timing was classic Trump, loud, sudden, and designed for maximum impact. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and the world watched as the trade war officially began. The announcement dominated every news cycle, overshadowing all other stories. For days, it was the only thing anyone could talk about, from boardrooms to street corners. But behind the headlines, the real story was unfolding in boardrooms and on factory floors across India. Decisions had to be made, strategies rewritten, and hopes recalibrated as an entire nation braced for the fallout of a trade war that had just erupted. When the Trump administration announced a sweeping 50% tariff, it sent shockwaves through India's economy. The move was not just a policy change, it was a direct strike at the very core of India's export-driven growth, targeting the country's most vital industries and millions of livelihoods. Textiles and apparel, the pride of Indian manufacturing, were hit first and hardest. These sectors employ millions, with women in rural areas forming the backbone of the workforce. For many families, textile jobs are the only source of income, and the sudden tariff threatened to unravel years of progress in women's empowerment and rural development. A $20 shirt in the US, once a staple of affordable fashion, now carried a much steeper price tag. American shoppers, always on the lookout for bargains, began to turn away, favoring cheaper Vietnamese or Bangladeshi alternatives. The ripple effect was immediate. Indian exports piled up, unsold and unwanted. Orders from American retailers paused overnight, production lines slowed to a crawl. In textile hubs across India, a sense of dread and uncertainty filled the air as workers waited anxiously for news. The gems and jewelry sector, another jewel in India's export crown, faced a massive blow. A single piece of jewelry, once prized in American stores, now cost thousands more due to the tariff, making it nearly impossible to compete. The intricate trade network that connected Indian artisans to global buyers was suddenly at risk of unraveling. Small workshops already operating on thin margins faced closure as orders dried up. Leather goods, renowned worldwide for their craftsmanship and quality, found themselves unable to compete with a 50% disadvantage. The cost gap was simply too wide to bridge. American brands, always seeking the best deal, began to look elsewhere, threatening the jobs of thousands of skilled Indian workers and putting entire communities at risk. Chemicals and engineering goods, crucial pillars of India's manufacturing sector, were not spared. These products, essential for everything from pharmaceuticals to machinery, suddenly became far less competitive in the US market. For American manufacturers, Indian chemical products became expensive overnight, forcing them to seek alternative suppliers and disrupting established supply chains. The tariff effectively erected a massive wall around the US market, making it nearly impossible for Indian goods to enter without a hefty price penalty. India's key export industries suddenly found themselves on the wrong side of this barrier, cut off from their most lucrative market. The move not only hurt Indian exporters but also created headaches for American businesses, who now faced higher costs and supply shortages. It was a direct attack on India's most profitable exports, sending shockwaves through boardrooms and factory floors alike. The chaos was palpable. Industries scrambled to adapt, managers reworked production schedules, and workers feared for their jobs. The tariff was more than just a policy, it was a massive disruption to India's economic heart, leaving uncertainty and hardship in its wake, and forcing a nation to rethink its place in the global economy. You'd expect panic in the Indian government, right? But no. New Delhi went into Zen mode, calm and collected. No knee-jerk reactions, no retaliatory tariffs. Official statements were measured, projecting control. It was like a chess grandmaster thinking 5 moves ahead. The message, we won't be bullied, but we won't be reckless. Indian officials worked behind the scenes, convening high-level meetings. They listened to industry leaders, gathering real-time data. This collaborative approach prevented panic and built unity. The calm response sent a powerful message. We have your back. It stabilized markets, giving businesses hope. India played the long game, focusing on sustainable solutions. Behind the calm, teams worked around the clock. They analyzed trade data, identified vulnerabilities, and brainstormed countermeasures. The strategy wasn't just survival, it was turning crisis into opportunity. Then came Mission 40, a bold initiative that was unveiled quietly, almost under the radar, but with a sense of unwavering determination. It was a turning point in India's approach to global trade, signaling a new era of ambition and adaptability. The message was clear. If the US door closed, India would not stand idle or wait for it to reopen. Instead, the country would proactively seek out new opportunities, refusing to let a single setback define its future. The plan was simple in concept, but ambitious in scale. India would open 40 new doors. The strategy focused on diversifying export destinations, ensuring that the nation's economic fortunes were not tied to any one country or region. Target countries included major EU economies, where demand for high-quality goods was strong and growing. India saw an opportunity to tap into these established markets with a fresh perspective. But the vision didn't stop there. Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East were all identified as regions with untapped potential, each offering unique challenges and rewards for Indian exporters. It was a global charm offensive, a coordinated effort to build relationships, foster trust, and showcase India's capabilities on the world stage. Mission 40 wasn't just about selling the same old products in new places, it was about innovation, launching new products tailored to the tastes and needs of each market, and demonstrating India's ability to adapt and evolve. The approach involved promoting specific products in specific markets, using targeted campaigns and unique demonstrations to capture attention and build demand. Detailed market research became the backbone of the mission, helping Indian businesses understand local preferences, regulations, and competition. This data-driven approach ensured that every move was calculated and effective. Indian products were tailored for export, with customized packaging and features designed to appeal to international consumers. It was about being smart, not just loud, making thoughtful adjustments rather than relying on sheer volume. Behind the scenes, business leaders and strategists worked tirelessly, holding planning sessions and strategic discussions to ensure every detail was covered. The mission became a national call to action, inspiring a motivated workforce and uniting the country behind a common goal. It required a coordinated effort at every level, from government to industry to individual entrepreneurs. The government led the charge by negotiating new trade agreements, opening doors that had previously been closed and creating pathways for Indian goods to reach new markets. Export promotion councils and industry associations were on the front lines, advocating for Indian businesses, providing support, and helping navigate the complexities of international trade. Mission 40 transformed what could have been a moment of despair into a wave of excitement about new opportunities. It became a roadmap for India's economic independence, setting the stage for a future defined by resilience, innovation, and global ambition. Mission 40 revolutionized Indian embassies. They transformed into marketing agencies for Brand India. Embassies promoted Indian exports, a key performance indicator. Success was measured by trade growth, not just political ties. Embassies set up commercial wings, staffed with trade experts. They organized trade shows and product exhibitions. Export promotion councils worked closely with embassies. Embassies helped navigate regulations and language barriers. This proactive approach empowered small and medium-sized exporters. Embassies became a support system for global expansion. Mission 40 redefined Indian diplomats. They became marketers, dealmakers, and business promoters. Diplomats needed salesmanship, market analysis, and logistics skills. Training focused on trade, marketing, and economic diplomacy. Success metrics included export growth and trade deals. This shift fostered competition among embassies. Diplomats embraced their expanded role, building trade bridges. They became architects of India's new trade relationships. India faced fierce competition from Vietnam and Bangladesh. These countries excelled in the global garment industry. Bangladesh offered low-cost, high-volume production. Vietnam had free trade agreements, giving it an edge. India had to innovate, modernize, and invest in technology. The competition forced India to improve efficiency and focus on strengths. India couldn't just survive, it had to evolve. The challenge was a reality check for Mission 40. Mission 40 needed strong domestic support. The government eased access to credit and compliance with global standards. Workshops and subsidies helped meet international benchmarks. The push for quality built a reputation for Made in India. Diversification included developing new products and moving up the value chain. The government improved export processes and logistics. These improvements made Indian exporters more competitive. The domestic support system was crucial for Mission 40's success. It ensured exporters had the tools to conquer new markets. The 50% tariff was a wake-up call for India. It forced diversification and a resilient trade strategy. Mission 40 built a stable foundation with diverse trade links. Competing globally made Indian companies agile and innovative. India's calm response showcased its maturity as a global power. The crisis became an opportunity for strategic diplomacy. Mission 40 was a lesson in resilience and transformation. India reduced dependence on the US, pushing industries to innovate. It laid the groundwork for a prosperous economic future. India's fortunes are now spread across the globe, not tied to one partner.